Okay, hey everybody, before I get into today's tutorial, which I hope that you guys are looking forward to, I just want to ask you guys a very quick question and I will expand on this towards the end of the video. But I am running a poll at the moment to see what you guys want to, well, see that's new for this year. You know, some new stuff that you want me to do, whether it's gaming videos or some rants or something to help me expand this channel, get more viewers. Don't worry guys, the tutorials will continue. They're probably just going to be small scale tutorials just like this one. And it's because everybody that I'm subscribed to, I'm pretty sure you're subscribed to as well, are already making large project tutorials. So tell me what you guys think. Give me your opinions, whether it's gaming videos that you want me to do or something else, something interesting. I'd like to know. Just point that out for me. Now I'm just going to check whether to see I'm recording, and let me put my teacher's voice on. Okay, how is everybody? I'm back for yet another tutorial. My name is Blaze, and you guys, if you have watched the previous video, you'll know that that was all about single button combos. So very simple combos, stuff that you could use in a, I don't know, like a top-down RPG, or if you're making something like Dark Souls, something like that. Very simple one-button combos. Now, in that video, I mentioned that I was using a custom timing system, and in this video I will be covering that as well as timers in general for Game Maker, and of course, like the thumbnail suggests, slow-mo as well. So let's first have a look at the stuff that we have. This is a completely new project, but here we have the game controller here, which in the initialize event I just have a simulation speed, and I will explain that later. I also have delta time, which I initialize at 0, a delta timer, which are basically all of the timer things that we will be covering for this first part, and then we have the alarm string. Now don't forget that I am running a poll at the moment, so I would like your opinion on how I can expand the channel and what new content that I'm making. Anyway, on with the rest of the tutorial. We also have an alarm, which I just have an alarm string and I change it to say yes instead of no. Really, it's not much. And then we have a step event. So we are looking at, first, we're looking to press space. And here is that first part of the tutorial, the timer thing. And then we have a whole bunch of new things, which I will go through as the tutorial goes on. So I have a timer countdown, the simulation speed changing, and the room speed. Okay, this is the other important one. So the room speed, I have it set to 60, 30, and 5. And up here, I have the VK space. I have my delta timer set to 1, my alarm string set to no, and my alarm 0 set to 1. And then we also have the begin step event, which right now is our delta time. We don't need to worry about that at the moment, and we are debugging everything here in the draw GUI. Now when I press escape, that just quits the game, so it's easier for me. And I also have here a sprite that just does nothing really. This is just some of the leftover combo stuff from my previous video, but I got rid of all of that. And I have here x plus equals 10 pixels multiplied by global.delta. And of course it wraps around, so when it gets to the edge of the screen, it'll start again. Now for most people, let's go back to this here. For most people, when you set up a timer here in Game Maker, you'll probably use this line here. The alarm in array form with a number, so in this case 0, plus whatever number that you have here. Let's play the game and let's see how that affects us, okay? And I will explain how it works. The way that number that you put on the right side of the equal sign, what you're setting it to is how long it will wait before, hang on, let me slow the game down a bit. It will tell us how many frames it will wait before the alarm changes, okay? So let's press space and let's see, let's put that to 60 FPS. Actually, let's put that down to 5. Let's press space and see how fast. There you go. It was almost instantaneous. Like, let's press it again. No, yes. It just counts 1 frame. So how do you fix that so that it makes a little bit more sense? Well, you can do this. You go room speed multiplied by 1. Now, what does that do? Well, let's have a look here, actually. Our room speed is our frames per second. So if we have our room speed set to 60, that means that we're running the game at 60 FPS. If it's at 30 FPS, and 5 FPS. So basically, if we just had 1 like this, then what that does, what that tells GameMaker is that it will just set the alarm to, 1 frame. But if we have it set to room speed, we're telling it to say, hey, 1 second, which is this number, multiplied by the frames per second. So regardless of how fast the room is, so regardless of the room speed, whether it's 5, 30, or 60, it will always take 1 second. Now, if we change that to 0.5, it'll take half a second. So let's see what happens if we go down to, if we put it to 1. Okay, just like the original example. I will change this to not be over in the corner. I will put this at 0, just so that it doesn't flash and you can actually read the stuff without me having to change the speed. So let's have a look at that timer. Now that we've multiplied it by the room speed, it should take 1 second. Let's have a look. There you go. If you look at the timer that's just slightly above here, that's 1 second. There you go. Yes, no, yes. Now let's bump that down to 30 FPS. It will still take 1 second. And let's bump that down again to just 5 FPS. As you can see, it still takes 1 second to go from no to yes. So that's something that you can do to change how your alarms are affected. Very simple change, very easy to implement. So this is like a, we'll say, well, not beginners really. It's already a step above beginners. I will say this is GM, Game Maker Studio only timing system, which is fine. Like if you plan on just using Game Maker Studio or Game Maker Studio 2 and using the alarms, then doing things in this way, creating your timers in this method, using this method is fine. But if you plan on going into other engines like Unreal or Unity, just like myself, then you probably won't have access to the alarm system right from the beginning. Especially if you're using Unreal C++, not the blueprints. So let's have a look at something that we can do to essentially prepare you for using other engines. We can use a custom timer, which is what I use in my basic combo tutorial system. Here we have our delta timer, which I set to 1. And when we press the space key. Now, if the delta timer is greater than 0, basically, if it's anything higher than 0, it will deduct from that at 0.015 by global.delta. I will explain global.delta a little bit later, but hopefully you can put up with that. So make sure that there's some timing. So if there is lag, then global.delta will make sure that this will make up for it. No problems. And of course, if we don't want it to go into negatives, we just want it to set to 0. So catch it at 0, make sure that it stays at 0 once it goes below. And that's really all it does. If we play the game again, you can see that it will take away 0.015 per frame. So let's have a look. There you go. It takes about 1 second, regardless of how fast the room is, to go from 1 to 0. So there you go. It's really no different to how the alarm system works, or this way. The only difference is that this method of creating timers is useful not just in GameMaker, but in Construct, in Unity, in Unreal, anywhere really, you can trust that. So let's have a look now at Delta. Now, a lot of people have shown you guys how Delta works. And so hopefully I don't need to do too much explaining. I think if you just let me have a look at how long I've been talking for, 10 minutes. I want to keep this under 20 minutes, but I don't think I will make it. So here we go. This is how we create a delta time function or delta time value in GameMaker. This is the begin step. And in the begin step, we are looking at our target FPS divided by 1,000,000 multiplied by delta time. That's as simple as I can explain it, really, just by telling you what's on the screen. Now, what does delta time actually do? Well, the way delta time works is it makes sure that an object is at a certain position regardless of any lag spikes. So let's say our computer, we're playing a game, a lot of different things are happening, and we get a lag spike. Obviously, we don't want the character to sort of slow down their movement. We still want them to maintain that speed. We just need to make sure that we calculate where they're supposed to be given a certain point in time. Let's have a look at this in a more practical sense. So here's that line. Basically, it's your target FPS. In my case, I'm setting it to 60, divided by 1,000,000 multiplied by delta time. Okay, so just have a look at that. Pause the video if you have to. And let's have a look at the player object. Here we go. Here is what delta time does for us. Right now, it is moving at x plus equals, so relative to its current position, 10 pixels across to its right, multiplied by global.delta. Now, if we have a look at the game again, I know this is taking a while, but just bear with me, okay? Let's have a look at this. If you have a look at our room speed and our FPS, this will give you a better picture. Now, if you look at our little cube character guy thingy, he takes about 1 second to get across the screen. Now, let's change it to 30 FPS. Okay, a little bit choppy, still acceptable, but it still takes 1 second to get across. Now, let's change it again to 5 FPS. As you can see, it looks terrible. It looks terrible, but we can see that he will take, or our little green character will take 1 second to get across the screen. What happens now if we get rid of this multiplied by delta time? Let's have a look, okay? Again, the whole point of delta time is to make up for any lag, and so it's good for things like positioning and making sure that things are working, according to how it should be. You can see here at 60 FPS, no change really. Now we're at 30 FPS, and we can see that there's a major difference. It's taking a lot longer to go from the left side of the screen to the right side, and that's not what we want. Let's change it. Let's go to an extreme. Let's go to 5 FPS. We can see now that it's hardly going anywhere. It's taking longer than 1 second to go from the left to the right. And that is not what we want. What we want is we want to make sure that it takes exactly one second to go from left to right, regardless of how fast the game is running. Now, obviously, I can't force lag to happen, especially since this is just like a basic, I can't force my computer to lag out, but this is the best that I can do by changing the speed. Okay, so let's put it back to 60, exit, and let's make sure that delta time is there. So now that we have that delta time, it will always take 1 second to get across, regardless of how many frames per second we are running, okay? So that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind when you're developing your games. Make sure that, yes, it is a 2D game, but you need to make sure that all these possibilities are accounted for. And so having a delta time function to catch those lag instances, and they will happen. is a good idea to have. Now, moving on, like I said, I hope you guys are answering those poll questions and making suggestions. I obviously can't force you to do it, but hopefully you are. And I thank you in advance for answering the poll and making suggestions. So thank you guys so much. You are helping me grow this channel. Let me check my time. 15. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes, and I will show you guys the that other function, that simulation speed, right? Because I haven't shown you guys anything about slow motion, like I said like it says in the thumbnail. So here we go. The slow motion here is actually this here, which this sim speed, this global sim speed, is set to 1. 1 being regular speed. And sim speed is basically simulation speed. So I don't know, I can't think of any games made in Game Maker that have slow motion. I cannot think of one at this point. I think maybe Hotline Miami might have it. I'm not sure. I can't think of off the top of my head. But let's see how we can implement slow motion. This is going to be really easy, okay? So just have a look here. My sim speed is 1, and this is what we're going to do. And you can do this with anything really that uses x plus equals or y plus equals functions of Game Maker. Like with any positioning function or with any timing function, you can change that. So let's multiply that by global dot sim speed. Okay? And we will see that in action. We will also multiply the timer by sim speed as well, because maybe you want to do something like bullet time or something like that. Dot sim speed. And hopefully that works. I haven't actually tested this one yet, but I'm pretty sure it should work just fine. Let's have a look at the sim speed. Okay, we're going to keep the game running at 60 FPS, but I will change the sim speed and you guys can see how Slo-Mo works. So here we go, 60 FPS simulation speed 1. If I press space, it times 1 second, that's fine. Let's change the sim speed to 75%. There you go. We can see that it's still running 60 FPS, but our cube is now moving slower. Let's have that again. Let's take another quarter off. So now we're going at half speed. And you can see that if I press space, it takes longer to go from 1 second to 0, from 1 to 0. So there you go. It's everything's still running at 60 FPS, but our cube is now moving slower. This is how you do slow motion. Let's take another quarter off, and now we are basically going at a snail's pace. And you can see the timer up here is taking a while as well, right? Very, very useful. And if we obviously take it down again, whoops, sorry, wrong button, it stops completely. And our timer stops completely as well, but that's something separate. You can build off of that. But there you go. That's how you can do a very simple slow motion here in Game Maker. So let's have a look at that again. And basically, sim speed, you can tie it in with delta time, and you should tie it in with delta time. Sim speed is your simulation speed. You default that to 1. And then in the step event, you just, whatever you want to be affected by the simulation speed, if you want something to move slower or move faster, depending on your simulation speed, then you multiply it by the value and then by delta time, so that it's constant. It doesn't affect it too much. So anyway, guys, that is the end of this tutorial. Hopefully you guys have been answering those poll questions that I put up. And if there's something that you haven't wanted to, if you have some ideas that you want me to consider, then I don't mind having a look at those. Just list them down in the comments below. And as usual, guys, if you like the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, it's a new year. I want to make some new stuff for this channel. And don't worry, the tutorials will stay. They're probably going to change in nature. I'm probably going to do more tutorials similar to this. And so if you guys can suggest what else you would like me to make, then I will be more than happy to try those out for you. But please, guys, answer those poll questions. And if there's something that you didn't see, or there's something that you think that I could do, then leave a request in the comment section below. That's what it's for. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.